Hi, welcome to GameFluent. Today on GameFluent, Clue. You guys have been asking for it. You saw me do Monopoly and everybody wanted to learn how to play Clue. So let me go over Clue for you. It's a fun game. It's been around for a while. Probably found one of these on your parents' or your grandmother's bookshelf and wanted to know how to play. It's a super simple game. It takes a little bit of deductive logic to solve it and win, but once you get the knack of the game, it's kind of fun how you go through it to figure out who done it. In a nutshell, the game is a murder mystery. There was a Dr. Body was murdered in his mansion, and you need to figure out who did it. The game consists of 6 players. You, of course, don't need 6 players to play. You can play with at least 3 players, so 3 to 6 players. Each one of the players gets a player token. There are 6 weapons. There's the knife and the candlestick and some other weapons. And then, of course, there's the rooms in the mansion itself. The objective of the game is to figure out who done it. So, who it was, where it was, and with what weapon. So basically, you need to determine which one of the 6 players it was. Was it Mr. Green? Was it Colonel Mustard? Was it Mrs. White? Was it done in the library, the conservatory, the billiard room? And with what weapon? Which one of the 6 weapons was used? The candlestick, the knife, the lead pipe? All of these things are represented on the board. Obviously the rooms, the weapons with the small player pieces. The players are represented by the small movable tokens. So the bright blue, Mrs. Peacock, the green, Mr. Green player, the white, Mrs. White, and so on. So to set the game up, put each one of the players on their respective start square. Start, Mrs. White gets the white token. Find the die. Put the 6 weapons in 6 various rooms on the board. Sort out the suspects from the rooms and the weapons. Shuffle each one of these together. And then draw a suspect, a room, and a weapon. This is what we need to determine in the game. This is what everyone's trying to figure out. This no one sees, and it gets hidden in the confidential file and remains on the middle of the board for the entire duration of play, where everyone can see it, no one's cheating, no one's looking at it. The rest of the clues get shuffled together and sort it out to the other players. So say there's 3 of us playing. I get a stack, and the other 2 players get stacks. Once you've distributed the cards to everyone, give everyone a notebook off the stack. Everyone gets a detective's notebook. So tear these off, and then fold it in half, and then write down, of course I'm going to do it so you can see it on camera, but write down what you've got in your hand here. So I've got Mr. Green, I've got the rope, I've got the kitchen, I've got the dining room, I've got Professor Plum, and I've got the revolver. Of course, you won't do this right on top of the board. You'll do this in secret. You'll do this so no one can see, okay? So you'll keep this secret, you'll keep these secret. The other players will do the same with their cards. And now the game begins. So now the fun of the game is trying to figure out what cards the other players are holding by moving your piece around, moving other pieces around on the board, so that you can make a suggestion. Through the course of the game, you're going to make suggestions of Mrs. Peacock in the conservatory with the revolver. Or maybe you'll suggest Mr. Green in the billiard room with the candlestick. Now, in order to make those suggestions, you take turns moving your piece into the various rooms, and then you can make a suggestion who you think committed the crime based on what room you're in. So you roll, a great roll, 1, 2. And the other players will go, it's my turn again, I'll roll, 1, I'm making a lot of headway here, 4, I'm heading for the ballroom it looks like, but do I already have the ballroom? No, I'm not sure about the ballroom. So maybe that'll be my first suggestion. I don't know. I'm not holding the ballroom card. One of these guys might be, or it might be in the confidential file. So again, on my turn, 1, it's going to take me 6 rolls to get into the ballroom. At this point, I can say, let's see here. Maybe let's work on Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the knife. Okay, so I'll say, all right, I'd like to make a suggestion. I suggest that the crime was committed by Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the knife. Now, I don't have any of those cards. The player to my left looks at his cards and says, let's see, what am I going to show him? Well, boy, that's a pretty good suggestion. I don't have any of those cards. So, play moves further to the left around the table. Player 3 looks at his hands, finds something that I just suggested, shows me and only me, and then puts his cards down. I got an answer. I know it wasn't the knife, so I'll write in my little detective notebook, nope, not the knife. I keep that secret from him, so player 3 and I know it wasn't the knife because he's got that in his hand. Alright, so that was my suggestion. My turn ends. The other players try to move into a room and make a suggestion of their own. If you want to make another suggestion about maybe a different player or a different weapon, but in the same room, you literally need to move your player out during one turn and then roll the dice and move your player in on the next turn, and then you can make another suggestion about that room with the same player or maybe a different weapon. One thing to note though, every time I say this, note that I'm saying suggestion, because you can make a suggestion on every turn. In Clue, once you think you know who did it, you've got this narrowed down to one suspect that you haven't seen, one weapon that you haven't seen, and one room you haven't seen. They're not checked off. So you've got a pretty good idea of what's in that envelope. If you want to, at any time during your turn, you can make an accusation. The accusation is just like a suggestion. You can say, oh, I think it was Professor Plum with the revolver in the billiard room. But because you're making an accusation, if you're wrong when you look in the confidential file, you lose. You get to make one accusation in this game. If you make an accusation and you're wrong when you look at what's in the confidential file, you're out. You lose. Well, you're not out because you need to be available to show the other players a single card at a time when they make a suggestion. So make sure you know what's in that confidential file before you accuse. Otherwise, you're just making suggestions and everyone takes turns making suggestions until the mad dash for when everyone's seen all but 3 cards and then everyone knows who done it, where they done it, and with what weapon. In moving your piece, you can move on the tiled squares up, back, left, right. You cannot move diagonally. You can't ever go diagonally, and if there's a player blocking your piece, you need to go around them. So if there's a player blocking a door, you won't be able to enter that room through that door. You'll need to go around to another one of the doors. If you're in a room and the door is blocked by a player, you can't get out of the room. You can't move their piece. You can't land on their piece. That's an illegal move. So, but the one nice thing about the corner rooms is they all have secret passageways. So you can announce, I'm going to use the secret passageway, and the secret passageways just go to the diagonal corner of the board. So you can say, I'm going to use the secret passageway to the lounge, and put your piece in the lounge. Or if you're in the kitchen, you can move from the kitchen over to the opposite corner and move your player into the study. Now, one strategy I like to use is not necessarily guessing 3 things or suggesting 3 things that you don't know. Maybe sprinkle in something you already know. So maybe suggest Professor Plum with the knife in the hall. And so that way you can force, you know that these cards already exist. You don't want to see them. You know they're already there. So you don't have to go and just make a suggestion of 3 unknowns each time. Maybe sprinkle in a couple of knowns, and that way you can force someone to, in this case, show you the hall card. You know that those other cards are already out there. So don't always just make suggestions of things that you're trying to find out. And in that way, you can also sort of throw off. Or even better yet, as a regular practice, I've got the Professor Plum card. So why wouldn't I just say, well, I suggest Professor Plum in the ballroom with the candlestick. And that way, it throws people off because people think, wow, John's looking for Professor Plum. He couldn't possibly hold the card. And so by suggesting Professor Plum, I'm kind of throwing off my opponents because they're wondering why I'm suggesting Professor Plum. They wouldn't think I'm actually holding the card. So maybe that'll put them on some wild goose chase that they think Professor Plum's in the envelope when in fact he's in my hand. They'll never think to ask for him because I'm asking for him. So little tricks like that is what makes Clue a lot of fun. A couple of years ago, Hasbro came out with a 2-player version of Clue that you can play. Traditionally, Clue is a 3 to 6 player game. You can actually play with 2 players. Here's the trick. As you're dealing out the cards, deal out all but 4 cards. Deal out the rest of the cards between the 2 players. These 4 cards make the 3rd player. So you'll put those out on the 3rd player. You'll have half the cards. Your opponent will have half the cards. The difference is that if you move into a room and make a suggestion for who might have committed the murder, your player will look at his cards, and if he can't show you a card that you just suggested, at that point, you can take a look at one of the extra cards. So slowly, one suggestion at a time, you are moving through, progressing through the first card, the second card, the third card, the fourth card, and slowly figuring out what cards are in the mystery player. And so basically you can have a fun game of Clue between the 2 of you. You both have a lot of cards, so you both actually have quite a few clues in your notebook to begin with. But it's a matter of figuring out what those 4 cards are and then making your accusation and seeing if you solve the mystery of what's in the confidential case file. So that's Clue. I hope you have fun playing. If you have any questions, things that I overlooked or didn't explain very well, leave me a comment below. And thanks for watching.